US warships have sunk 2 Venezuelan boats in as many weeks, leaving 14 dead and raising fears of wider conflict. In Caracas, Nicolás Maduro vows armed struggle, accusing Washington of aggression and regime change ambitions. In Washington, lawmakers warn President Trump is bypassing Congress and risking war the nation did not choose. At stake is more than drugs or borders. It is power, law, and sovereignty in the Caribbean. The United States has carried out a second military strike in international waters near South America, killing 3 men on board what Washington described as a Venezuelan drug vessel. President Donald Trump said on Truth Social that the operation targeted what he called extraordinarily violent narco-terrorists transporting illegal narcotics to the United States. He argued the cartels posed a threat to American national security and vital interests.
This morning, on my orders, U.S. military forces conducted a second kinetic strike against positively identified, extraordinarily violent drug trafficking cartels and narco-terrorists in the Southcom area of responsibility. The strike occurred while these confirmed narco-terrorists from Venezuela were in international waters transporting illegal narcotics, a deadly weapon, poisoning Americans headed to the U.S. These extremely violent drug trafficking cartels pose a threat to U.S. national security, foreign policy, and vital U.S. interests. The strike resulted in 3 male terrorists killed in action. No U.S. forces were harmed in this strike. Be warned. If you are transporting drugs that can kill Americans, we are hunting you. The illicit activities by these cartels have wrought devastating consequences on American communities for decades, killing millions of American citizens. No longer. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
The announcement follows a similar strike less than 2 weeks ago, when US forces destroyed another vessel linked by officials to the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, killing 11 people. Both operations have drawn scrutiny over their legality in international waters. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth defended the actions, insisting the United States had full authority to conduct such strikes. But lawmakers, including Senator Jack Reed, questioned whether the attacks met the legal threshold for self-defense, noting the lack of evidence that the boats posed an immediate threat. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro has accused Washington of aggression and vowed to defend the country against further incursions. His government said the seizures amount to hostile acts designed to escalate conflict in the Caribbean. The Pentagon has reinforced its presence in the region, deploying warships, Marines, and F-35 fighter jets to Puerto Rico. Secretary of State Marco Rubio signaled that more operations may follow, saying the US intends to wage combat against cartels supplying drugs to American streets. The escalation underscores a deepening standoff between Washington and Caracas, already strained by disputed elections and long-standing US allegations that Maduro and his allies run a state-backed drug cartel, an accusation he has consistently denied. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro has sharply criticized recent US military actions in the Caribbean, calling them an aggression rather than routine tensions. Speaking in Caracas, he argued that Washington's strikes on Venezuelan vessels amounted to violations of international law and said the United States was seeking regime change under the cover of counter-narcotics operations. Earlier this month, a US military strike in international waters killed 11 people on a boat Washington alleged was tied to drug trafficking. On September 15th, President Donald Trump announced a second strike that killed 3 more, describing the targets on Truth Social as extraordinarily violent narco-terrorists. Maduro rejected those claims, saying the attacks represented a campaign of political, judicial, and military aggression against his country. He added that communications between Caracas and Washington had collapsed, leaving no diplomatic channel to manage the fallout. His government maintains that none of those killed belonged to criminal groups and that the US is seeking a pretext for escalation.
No es una tensión.
This isn't tension. It is an aggression all down the line. It is judicial aggression when they criminalize us. It is political aggression with their daily threatening statements. It is both diplomatic and military aggression. Venezuela is empowered by international law to confront this aggression comprehensively. It is not tension, it is aggression. Today, I can announce that the communications with the government of the US are thrown away. They are thrown away by them with their threats of bombs, death, and blackmail. That's not how we operate. With threats and coercion, there will never be anything.
Con amenazas y por las malas, nunca jamás habrá nada.
The Venezuelan leader announced the mobilization of troops and militia members, stressing that the country was prepared to defend its sovereignty if attacked. He accused Washington of using allegations of drug trafficking to justify plans to destabilize Venezuela and seize its natural resources. Meanwhile, in the address, Maduro said Venezuela was prepared for armed struggle if attacked, announcing the mobilization of 2.5 million troops and militia members. He added that the country was united and ready to preserve its independence under any circumstances. The United States has not recognized Maduro's re-election and continues to back the opposition while offering a multi-million-dollar reward for his arrest. With naval forces already deployed in the Caribbean, the latest strikes risk pushing bilateral relations into an even deeper confrontation. In Washington, President Trump's recent military strikes on Venezuelan boats are drawing growing criticism on Capitol Hill. Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island, the top Democrat on the Senate Armed Services Committee, called the actions a dangerous assault on the Constitution. Reed said no president can secretly wage war or conduct unjustified killings, warning that such operations risk igniting a conflict the American people did not choose. He urged Congress to demand answers and force transparency before the administration takes the country into another war. House Intelligence Committee. Democrat Adam Schiff voiced concerns. Writing on X, he said he is drafting a war powers resolution to reassert Congress's authority to declare war. Schiff said the strikes, which President Trump has defended as counter-narcotics missions, amount to lawless killings that could set a precedent for other nations to target US forces without justification.